Bitcoin now down over 50%, and I've done some very extensive research over the last 24 hours to go into some extreme depth of the real reason why Bitcoin has seen a major sell-off, breaking all resistance, breaking all support levels. And we're going to be looking at several different things, but we're going to go into the core reason of why Bitcoin is seeing this sell-off, because it's beyond the coronavirus. It's beyond the national emergency that was declared today in the United States. But we're going to go into the derivative exchange market alongside with the Plustoken scam that we've all been familiar with over the last year or so, and then talk about the last remaining support level for Bitcoin. Because as you can see, we've even pierced through the 200-week moving average, already seeing price levels below that. And that is a level of support that we've never broken in the past. In the history of Bitcoin's price action, as you can see, we've never went below that level. I believe once we've wicked through that level, but no, actually you can see here, we've never been below that 200-week moving average. That's actually where we found a bottom in our last bear market. And so we're going to be taking some questions from our live audience. And I'm not going to go into too much technical analysis just because this is more of a fundamental aspect of the market. As you can see, with traditional markets looking really good as Friday's close was preceded by the national emergency declaration that Trump had announced, obviously trying to ease the marketplace, and we saw a nice comeback for stocks. So we can expect some upside for Bitcoin, especially as we go into the root of this issue. You can see here, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin possibly going to zero if Bitmex didn't go offline. And this is really the core of the issue that we're going to be talking about. And then we'll go into crypto derivatives, what that means, and then look at the Plustoken scam that some of you guys have heard of in the past year or so, as they have been moving funds and slowly selling off funds. But this may have been a big dump for the first time that we have yet to see from this wallet that obviously comes and is associated with this Plustoken scam that originated in South Korea and really affected the South Korean market. So first and foremost, I want to talk about this 200-week moving average. Of course, you can see right now, even with price action around 5,400, we are currently below that 200-week moving average, and we want to stay above that for this weekly candle close, because we've already pierced through this moving average, and that, in my opinion, is already a worrisome technical indicator for me personally, because I take wicks into consideration. However, we have to understand the reasoning behind this huge sell-off, and it was really a multitude of things, including the global pandemic, and then of course we have the other aspects of the market that we need to talk about, because there is a big issue in this market, and it's something that I've talked to you guys about in the past, and it's the fact that there's more derivative trading in the cryptocurrency market than there is spot trading, and that becomes an issue over the long term. As you guys can see through this article, crypto derivatives, a corner of the market or the market itself. When you see in this article, it says here, as the derivatives market has grown exponentially, we have now entered a period where the underlying physical exchanges are much smaller than derivatives exchanges. It has become tempting to try to manipulate the less liquid underlying exchanges to yield some profits trading the derivatives. And what's very interesting about this article is, if you see the title of this recent headline that came out yesterday, it says your Bitcoin's price might have gone to zero if Bitmex hadn't gone offline. And this is a perfect example of why having more liquidity on derivative exchanges than spot trading is an issue, because in most asset classes like gold, for example, there's always more spot trading than derivative trading. And so there's a accurate and clear spot price for that asset. And so you can see here with this article, Bitmex may have pulled their exchange offline out of fear their liquidation engine could collapse the XBT USD order book all the way down to zero under the false flag of hardware issues. And so this becomes a snowball effect. What that basically means is somebody that has a large amount of Bitcoin, and remember we just talked about the Plustoken scam, right? Over 123 million was moved since Bitcoin recently hit 10,000 again, right? Because Bitcoin went back up to 10,500 recently. And since then, we've seen over 123 million Bitcoin move as that happened from this Plustoken scam. And so this is why this all is correlating with each other. But if we go more in depth into this article, you can see here it says, before Bitmex went offline, the price of XBT USD crashed 10% below the spot price, and the funding rate collapsed to one of its lowest levels on record. If you guys don't know, we actually saw the most amount of liquidations ever in the history of the cryptocurrency derivative market yesterday when we saw this big drop. So you can see here it says the funding rate collapsed to one of its lowest levels on record shortly after Bitcoin staged a sharp reversal to the upside. During the 40-minute window, the leveraged derivatives giant was offline. And so you can see here it says the timing of this rally took Bitmex's momentous sell wall off the market and allowed Bitcoin to recover. And interestingly enough, Bitcoin did respond to this theory saying insane is right. Sam, you know better than to deal in this type of conspiracy theory, especially since you operate a platform. However, we can only take that with a grain of salt, knowing that this is an underlying issue that has plagued the market for quite some time. And so understand the snowball effect here. When you have a large amount of Bitcoin and you go onto a spot exchange where there's less volume than in the derivative exchanges, you can easily manipulate price on the spot exchange, which then translates into the derivative exchange. And when you've already got all of this Bitcoin in Bitmex going long with leverage and price starts to rapidly decrease, you start to see liquidation after liquidation of accounts, therefore snowballing more and more liquidations. And therefore, this theory has come out saying Bitcoin could have possibly went to zero or had seen a more catastrophic drop if Bitmex hadn't gone offline. And so I think that's a very interesting theory. And I think it exemplifies the true issue that this market has, which is the fact that we see more derivative volume than we do spot trading. So I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on that. For those of you that understand this situation, I see we have a ton of people on. Chris, Malik, thank you guys for being on. I know it's a little bit late. Crypto Brand in the house. Hector Marina, Master Benny, Fight House Productions. Let's see here. Christopher says, yeah, nearly every exchange has access to leverage trading now. A year or two ago, this certainly wasn't the case. Absolutely. Malik says, could you cover the Bitcoin monthly chart? We can definitely go into a monthly chart. I think that's a good idea. You know, monthly charts are interesting. You can see here, even with this 50-month moving average, we broke through that average. Of course, looking at this chart, it looks like the capitulation that we saw, the drop that we saw here in November of 2018, where we did eventually find a bottom. And I think that we've found a temporary bottom for now. And I say that because a lot of this is going to have to do with the major world market indices, because as you know, we've followed the S&P 500 quite closely over the last few weeks. And of course, we saw a record close here. The Dow almost 2,000 points up on Friday, just in the last hour of trading as Trump announced the national emergency. And so interestingly enough, as we head into the weekend where we typically see more manipulation in the crypto markets, we are hoping to see some upside. And of course, we want to move above that 200-week moving average, which we've really been flirting with. And if you guys look at this chart here and we draw a vertical line here at that 200-week moving average, you can see we've been going above and below that over the last few hours and the last few days, flirting with this price action. And so we really want to stay above that instead of staying below that. You can see that dotted line here representing that 50-week moving average. We want to stay above that, not below that. And right now it's just flirting with that 50-week moving average. But unfortunately, we have to look at the facts of what possibly could have caused this major sell-off. And you can see here that Plustoken scam that we talked about says here, crypto researcher estimated that a major market sell-off was possibly driven by the Plustoken scammers liquidating 200,000 Bitcoin on the open market. And keep in mind, this article was February 11th. This was not yesterday or today. This was almost a month ago, talking about, if my numbers are correct, the 200 Bitcoin estimates reported earlier this year were correct and market impacts will continue for some time. And so that could have certainly have been what caused the major sell-off yesterday in the derivative market that spiraled into an uncontrollable sell-off. and then that translating into the spot price of Bitcoin. And you can see here, analysts believe that Plustoken sales are one of the primary catalysts for the 7-month long market downtrend that began after Bitcoin's price reached 13,800 on June 26, 2019. Now understand, this isn't all doom and gloom here, because when we look at other markets and how they've matured, we've seen things like this in the past. As a matter of fact, when we go into this article here where it talks about derivative exchanges, and we go a little bit above here, you can see, I believe it says this in this article, but it talks about the traditional markets here also experiencing a derivative moment back in the 70s. And so understand that's how markets mature, but of course we don't want this to take 40 years to mature for the cryptocurrency market, but this is the underlying issue in the market, and something that is not only going to work to our benefit, but can also work to our favor, to the upside. So understand, this is not just a fearful sell-off, but this is more of a fundamental sell-off that has to do with this issue of derivative market trading and spot trading, and the imbalance that we see with volume on those exchanges. And so understand that Plustoken still has 61,000 undistributed coins here, March 12th, 2020. This was an article written 2 days ago. And so knowing that they still have a lot of tokens, obviously researchers are keeping track of when these tokens are being distributed and then eventually onto exchanges for liquidation. And you can see during the times that we see price levels of Bitcoin drop, like in February and in January, we start to see less distribution and less sell-off. But of course, it seems as if what had occurred was, whoever these guys are saw legitimate sell-off of Bitcoin due to what's happening in traditional markets, and feared Bitcoin's price going lower, and they wanted to cash out more. And so they went ahead and did the unthinkable, which was cash out a large amount and then affecting derivative markets. And they could have even had their own shorts in the market, manipulating the market as they sold off on spot exchanges, bringing the price down, and then winning on both ends, not only in the spot price, but also in the derivative market. Because of course, their initial intention is to liquidate the Bitcoin into cash, but then from there, they have leveraged positions opened on on derivative exchanges. They are controlling the price at that point, and they're able to bring it down even further. So it's a very interesting fact here, and a part of the market that I personally want to see gone very soon. And so, of course, there's nothing wrong with a $5,000 Bitcoin at the end of the day. I don't mind Bitcoin at 5,000 because at the end of the day, we trade Bitcoin. Yes, we have long-term positions in Bitcoin, but hopefully you have a dollar cost averaging technique, which means you benefit off of times like this, because now your dollar cost averaging is substantially at a lower price when it comes to your average price per Bitcoin, due to the fact that now we're getting Bitcoin at such a discounted rate. And that's exactly what's happening across the board in all asset classes, not just cryptocurrencies, but we're seeing that with the major indices. We're seeing that with commodities, and even real estate investment trusts are seeing major sell-off. Bonds, anything you name that has acted as an investment vehicle is seeing a sell-off right now due to the global pandemic. But of course, we're also going to expose other parts of the market that are, in my opinion, I wouldn't say failures, but premature. And in the cryptocurrency market, one part of that is the derivative versus spot exchange issue. And that obviously was exposed and pretty much took Bitcoin's clothing off yesterday and said, hey, this is an issue, and this is what this type of issue can cause. And in reality, it's more amplified volatility, being that this is a less than $1 trillion market versus these traditional markets that are over $1 trillion. So I'm hoping this really sheds some light, because I did a lot of research on this for you guys to really give you guys some clear and concise insight on what's happening. So if you guys appreciate just this, this information, I'd love to hear your comments in the chat. Don't forget to like the video. David says anything is possible. Crypto Brand says not crypto, but I believe it to be giving fear to all markets. Can we look at the S&P and its major trend line support from 2008 that's possibly breaking? Yeah, well, understand technicals are not really in play right now as much as fundamentals are. And so today, when Donald Trump announced the national emergency, made it official, he really tried to bring in confidence for the marketplace because of the fact that we're just seeing major sell-off. And of course, the Fed's announced quote unquote unlimited liquidity to off balance this sell-off. And so that could possibly help markets. But more importantly, Trump is really trying to reassure people that things are okay. He even talked about buying more reserves of oil now that oil prices are low. So him being a businessman, that's a smart decision, right? People are freaking out because oil is dropping. And traditionally when oil drops, everything else drops. And Trump is like, well, I think this is a great thing. So we're going to go and buy more oil because now we can put them in reserve. So when people start hearing things like that and they start realizing there's a strategy here and that we're going to be okay, we'll start to see more confidence in the market and the fear will subside. Because right now, the whole market is plagued in fear, but that's where we find the most opportunity. I mean, who here, when Bitcoin was at 14,000, would have wished they had a Bitcoin for 5,000? Say I in the chat. I'm sure there's a ton of you guys that wish you had Bitcoin at 5,000 when it was at 14,000. And so this is the opportunity to start being able to grab those positions. But if you were to say, is this the bottom? I would say maybe not, maybe so. It's not a technical aspect that we need to watch at this point, but it's more of a fundamental aspect. And therefore, what I would say is have a strategy in place and alter that strategy as things mature. And so to say that this is the bottom is kind of immature in my opinion, because we don't know if it's the bottom, because we just don't know the overall, I would say, we don't know the overall outcome yet of this global pandemic, and therefore we can't predict the overall outcome of the bottom of this market just yet. And so understand this is going to be it's something that is going to take some time for us to watch. It's going to take some time for it to mature, but at the end of the day, we have to realize that eventually the fear will subside and things will go back to normal. And of course, these, in my opinion, are prices that people have died to get in the past for Bitcoin. And now we're having that opportunity to obtain those prices. And so, if you were to ask me, will Bitcoin go back to $1,000? Who knows? If we start to see more and more manipulation like what occurred yesterday, that could be a possibility, but I'd love to have a Bitcoin for $1,000. And so understand, I'll still be here with you guys. I'll still be making videos. I'll still be right by your side, helping you guys trade these markets. And quite honestly, I'm not going to be stressed by any of this because I've dollar cost averaged in Bitcoin in a set schedule for a very long time. And I've only invested what I'm willing to lose. And at the end of the day, I follow my principles and I understand the fact that no matter what happens, things will be okay. Life will go on. And during times like this, I've got cash on the side that I've already positioned to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And therefore me purchasing Bitcoin on the Tuesday that I always purchase Bitcoin is going to be more exciting this week because of the fact that Bitcoin's under $6,000 where it was over $10,000 a month ago. And so when you realize that sometimes these type of corrections are the best opportunity, and these type of I would say when the world is all in fear, that's the time for you to step up and realize that there's opportunity that comes from this fear. And you can see when this happened in the past, Bitcoin went down, bottomed right around $3,500, just like we hit $3,900 with this recent sell-off. And then of course that eventually turned into a very nice bull trend up to that $14,000 mark. And so there's still a lot of things coming for Bitcoin. The fundamentals haven't changed. The halving is still coming. And understand technicals are not as important right now as understanding the fundamentals, which is the reasoning behind the retail investor sell-off, which right now people are trying to get into cash because they don't know whether they're going to need it or not as this global pandemic becomes more and more widespread. And so understand the technicals don't matter as much right now as the fundamentals. And for me personally, I want to see a close on the weekly candle above that 200-week moving average. That's extremely important because we need to maintain that level. And as you can see on the hourly chart, we are flirting right on that moving average right now. And so it's obviously acting as a level in which a lot of people are either determining whether they want to get in or get out. And of course, if we were to look at the pattern here, it is a bullish pattern where we've got this symmetrical triangle forming here. And so hopefully as it approaches that apex, which doesn't seem like it's going to take much longer, it makes a decision of whether or not it wants to go up or down. Of course, even if this breaks down, at least we see a double bottom, and that would be even healthier in my opinion, because I've actually got positions that I'd like to ladder in at these lower levels if we start to see this breakdown. And so, of course, I'll update you guys on Discord if we start to see any sort of breakdown, and I'll continue to update you guys on Discord as we see more of this mature. But I don't want to take too much of your guys' Friday night. It's already Saturday morning, actually, 2:30 a.m. here. I just went a little bit overtime doing more and more in-depth research on the Plustoken scam. So I'd love to take some questions from you guys. If you guys want to know more about what is happening right now, I would highly recommend researching some of these topics that we talked about today, because it's a very interesting thing when you understand the issue that we see here with spot trading and derivative trading, and how that's affecting the market, especially with scammers in the market that have this type of liquidity that can be dumped into the market. And so understand, I just want personally these wallets that have all this Bitcoin to just get rid of them already, so we can move past this and finally, appreciate the true fundamental value, intrinsic value Bitcoin brings to the table. So Crypto Brand says, it's less to fill up my 4x4 truck. I'm happy about gas being $1.80 here in Texas. Majoran says, how can I join your Telegram group? We're not on Telegram. We're on Discord. It's discord.gg/profits. The link is in the description. CryptoMan says, I'm still mining ETH. I'll never shut off my rigs no matter the price. Still, I'll confirm y'all transactions. I got y'all. Thank you, Crypto Brand, for doing that, man. Appreciate your long time support in the community as well. David Hooker says, I'm happy for it to go lower. If it goes to 3,000, I'll load up my bags. Cyril Line says, hi from Taiwan, Naeem. Hope things are going well there in Taiwan, Cyril, or Curl. Been watching your channel since 2017. Thanks for sharing all your insight and experience with us. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Arby says, blocked up should be positive. We'll see. Miami says, how are they going to trade stocks if we is closed due to Corona? If Wall Street is closed due to Corona. Yeah, well, markets will go on. Things will reopen. Christopher says, 3K to 14K was from Plus scam token, though. Could be. And that's why I said it's not just going to work to our disadvantage. It can also work to our favor if we're on the right side of the table. And so, even in our Discord group, I posted a trade with a very tight stop at 7,200 with an entry at a 7,000. We lost 3% on that. But then as soon as we saw a nice trend up from 5,300, we went ahead and took that trade up to 5,600, and that was already a 6% upside. So we doubled, we made up the loss and then made up another 3% on that. And so understand, Bitcoin at this lower level, there's a lot less risk involved when going long. We look at the risk that we have here right now with any sort of long, especially when you're dollar cost averaging at this range. You can see it, with a long position set, even at this current price level, you've got very, very nice upside here of 150% versus possible downside of even a 38%. So, very good risk to reward ratio right now with any sort of longs, because of course, even if we start to see lower price action, there is that possibility of what could help us break even at any sort of long position. And so, I like prices at this level. I'm very, very happy for this. I'm happy that the market's where it's at right now. I'm happy about what's happening here. I'm obviously not as happy about the spread of this pandemic, but of course, we've been through the swine flu. We've been through other things similar, and we'll get through it as always. Johnny Smith from Twitter says, who are the scammers though? Now's the time to buy. So it's Plustoken. So they arrested, I believe, 6 of them, but the ringleader has yet to be arrested, and that's why they're still able to move money. And that primarily happened in South Korea. A lot of people in South Korea were defrauded from this. I'm sure maybe even our fan here from Taiwan has heard of the Plustoken, but very similar to BitConnect. But this was the biggest crypto heist in history, worth billions of dollars, when BitConnect was only around 200 million at its peak. And so very, very, very shocking here. Thank you, Mr. Marchall, thanks for your analysis. Scalping period in regards from Finland. I love it. Flash creatures, interesting. Google trend search. I noticed Bitcoin versus gold. Bitcoin is trending better against gold in 2020. Are these trends helpful in charting? Thanks to me. Absolutely. We've used that in the past. When you search up Bitcoin halving, you actually saw a huge increase in Bitcoin halving search trends on Google during 2016, prior to the 2017 breakout. So it's interesting because you look at Bitcoin halving on Google Trends. I implore you to do that, flash creatures, and you'll see that it's starting to trend up as it did in 2016. And in 2016, it was a predictor of the 2017 bull market. So I still think we'll see a very, very nice bull market come from this halving. I mean, when supply decreases, remember, price is always based on supply and demand. Those are the two things that matter the most. And so Crypto Brand says gold needs to hold 1500 or it's dead. Well, it seems like with gold right now, we're seeing a lot of liquidation, which is good. I want to see gold go lower. I want it to break 1500. And the reason I do want that to happen is because right now what we're really seeing are the people who are accumulating gold from that 1100 to around $1,400 to $1,500 range, starting to liquidate their positions in gold. It's already acted as a hedge for them, and they're already probably in major profits. And now they're like, well, great. Now we're seeing lower prices in Bitcoin for $5,400. I want to put more liquidity into that, or I want to put some liquidity into the Dow, knowing that we're down at 23,000 where we were at almost 30,000 a week or two ago. And so we want to see more liquidation in gold because we want to see that hedge away from gold and back into traditional markets and Bitcoin and other assets here. So Kitten Toot says Bitcoin halving. LOL. Yeah, you guys always make fun of how I say it. Alex says, with intense QE measures coming, just another case in support of crypto principles long term. Absolutely. And I think that's why we keep seeing ETFs get denied for crypto right now. They just don't like the type of volatility that is possible. I really think they realize the derivative market and the spot market is really unbalanced right now, and they don't want to risk that. And so I think that's why we're seeing ETFs get declined. As soon as we start to see ETFs for Bitcoin, it's going to start becoming a major asset class with a lot of legitimacy and a lot of backing and reputation. So that's going to be an interesting time if that happens here soon. Bitcoin is not following historical technicals. How do you analyze this kind of situation? It's all fundamentals right now, Malik. Another thing you have to realize is when we look at the previous halving in 2016 here, you can see here when we go into 2016 in June and we look at how Bitcoin acted prior to that halving, we also saw a sell-off prior to the halving, and it didn't just immediately raise in price. Of course, eventually it led to a $20,000 Bitcoin. When we go here to July of 2016, I believe it's like right around here. So you can see July, we saw initial peak, and then the halving was right around this area. I believe it was right around here. It may have been August, September, but you can see we saw initial uptrend, downtrend, consolidation, almost like what happened just now, big push down, consolidation for some time before we saw the halving. Then even during the halving, it was just a slow, gradual increase before eventually, obviously this was Bitcoin's less than $1,000. Eventually we saw tons of volatility, and then we saw the big push up in 2017. And so very, very similar to what happened then, you can see is happening right now, where we saw an initial push up, we saw that consolidation, we saw another big push down. And if we were to copy history, market structure is a very big aspect of trading. Then we should see a consolidation here, possibly an upward consolidation. Halving comes in May, so this should be the halving. And then maybe some extreme volatility here. Probably not lower than the levels we're at now, probably at these higher levels, and then of course shooting up past the previous high. And so it's kind of what I'm expecting, but we'll see. Obviously that's a very rough draft, but I think market structure right now is very important to watch versus technicals, but market structure being a technical indicator in some cases. Masab says, I think by coronavirus market seeing bottom right now, and I think after buying a lot in the prices, they need some hope in society to come back to market. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. What's up, Fatal Fury? Masab says it's planned, I think. We can go into a lot of that. Conspiracy. Fundamentals are still strong. Once we get rid of the bad actors like the Plustoken squad, we get past this pandemic, we should see some movement. I'm going to end it with that. I thank you for saying that, Chris. I agree 100%. Thank you all for tuning in. Like the video if you guys appreciate the 2:30 a.m. live stream. If you guys want more of this, remember every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we go live. We'll be giving a book away to one of you guys in the comments below. So we gave a book away on our Wednesday video, so we'll do another one for this video. Just make sure to like the video, turn on your post notifications. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the Discord. It's a late night for me. We did a lot of research, and I'm going to actually be posting another in-depth update on our Discord here real soon. I know we posted a really nice one as soon as this all happened, but we'll post another one for you guys here real soon because I did a lot of research, but I went through most of it on this video, so if you need to watch the video, feel free. But thank you guys for tuning in. Great things ahead. Do not panic. Let the fear move on. Put yourself in the position of Patrick from SpongeBob. Put yourself under a rock and then wake up a year from now, and I guarantee you things will be better. Prices will be back up. Do not succumb to the emotional aspects of this market. Understand this is all fear. Things will be okay. Things have always been okay. Things have always recovered, and it's just a matter of time. And so if I can give you one word of hope, it's that. And realize that it's all part of this cycle. It's all part of a market cycle. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Thank you, Synonymous, Alex, Crypto Brand, Fatal Fear. See you guys on the Discord. And yeah, appreciate you guys from Finland, Taiwan. Sean Nevin says, I'm not watching live because I want to watch from the beginning. I was in your Discord watching this live. We were all freaking out. It was the craziest thing I've seen in 9 years of trading. Yep, I agree. It's just pretty crazy. But I like seeing stuff like this. Because typically when stuff like this happens that's crazy to the downside, you see something crazy to the upside. So I'm going to leave you with that. We saw something crazy to the downside, but just wait for the next crazy to the upside because that's coming. South Africa, I love it. Snipers out. Thank you guys.